I am so excited to have Dawn here tonight. So I'm just going to read a little and I'm going to bring her up here in a moment. So in case you didn't know, Dawn Rickabaugh is the owner of Note Queen Capital. All right? She buys seller finance notes across the country and helps others get started in investing in notes. Okay? How many of you have done notes before? All right. How many of you have actually created one from scratch? All right, quite a few of you. How many of you are just starting out and looking into this niche? All right, you got it all, Dawn, tonight. That's awesome. All right, so she consults in real estate transactions that involve owner financing, and she specializes in alternative closing strategies. I love that. See, to me, seller financing and notes is like one of those things, it's like a tool belt. It's like a tool in your tool belt, right? As investors, you got to approach a deal and not approach it with one solution or the way you know. When you can build the tools that you have, you can create several solutions. So for me, I know just buying cash isn't always the answer. Sometimes there's a better way. Maybe we can do some seller financing. What I love about seller financing is you can even increase your returns tremendously. So Dawn's going to talk about that tonight. So I love this. She says, never wait for a bank. Never wait for a bank to give you permission to close. We all do much better when we learn to create financial solutions. Just one mom and pop to another. That feels good, yeah? All right, yeah. So how Dawn puts it is seller financing gives birth to the note business, okay? And so she's all about having you understand the dance between property and paper, all right? So you may not know this about Dawn, but her background is actually nursing. She was an ER nurse, right? And then so now she pursues her passion for helping people through a blend of traditional and innovative real estate and note transactions. You know, when I met Dawn, she lived here in Temple City. Anyone know where Temple City is? It's up by Pasadena. I thought Temple City was way somewhere else, but it's like by Pasadena, right? Okay. And she was awesome. I actually met her through Val, and then she did this amazing real estate business, and it was kind of foreign to me, this whole note thing, because all I knew was flipping. And I loved her because she has a no-nonsense approach on, number one, educating about notes and helping you understand how to create them and buy them and create creative solutions for your typical real estate transaction. So I just want you to know she has now moved to Carson City, Nevada, and we invited her to come tonight. And she has spoken at our club before, but it's been a while, so I'm so excited to have her back. She drove for 2 days just to get here so she can talk to you tonight. Please help me give a warm Invest Club welcome to Dawn Rickabaugh! Oh my goodness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch this out for you, and then maybe you just want to say your hellos, and we'll get this up.
Well, wow, what a warm welcome. Am I not blessed? And it's so great to see many familiar faces. I haven't been in LA probably for 3 years. After we left, we kind of just never came back. You know, I mean, the kids were no more joint custody. No one needed us to stay here, and so we're just like, boom. You know, so now we're in that. I guess I'm over the hill. It's the golden years, right? Kind of starting over. I feel. Well, it's gray. I have a lot more gray hair since I was here, but it's not because I've been stressed out. I've actually been de-stressed. You know, I think the density population is a third of Temple City or less. I don't know. There's like 3 people per square mile. No, not exactly like that. But so what I'm hoping, I guess, can I just have a show of hands again? Who's brand new to real estate investing in general? Hasn't really invested in real estate, mainly, okay, great. And then people that have, that's all you do, you're full-time. Okay, and then everyone else is in between. So maybe a third. Sound about right? So basically, while they're figuring this part out, and I'll tell you that back in the 90s, in the mid-90s, when basically I had 3 kids right in a row, and then my wife had a son about the same age as my middle daughter. So when we got together, we had 4 babies in diapers, and they were there's no more than 3 years apart between the first and the last. So we had this like gaggle of kids, you know, they went kindergarten, first grade, second grade is like, you know, reading time and tubby time. And I mean, seriously, it was something. So, pardon? Yeah, there's something that I loved, obviously. Not sure I was, well, you know. Okay, I probably shouldn't say. You know, I'm not exactly the most filtered person, so please forgive me in advance if I offend anyone. It's totally not, it's all in good fun, I hope. A little bit about this is, and I can't remember, I just want to, so when I moved, I took this whole thing, like, I live in Nevada now, like, I took it to heart, like, okay, I'm, like, going to take this on, so, of course, you got to buy a truck. So, this is dude. This is not just a truck, this is dude. And, you know, like, there's Outback adventures and stuff, because there's, like, all these dirt roads, and you get off the beaten path. Love that. Also had to get a Harley because everyone, you know, everyone rides Harleys. And then I went by a really bad accident like last week, and I'm like, eek, you know. So, but anyway, it's pretty awesome. And then like on Easter, we went out to the desert with some friends, and I guess that may or may not be the bullet from an AR-15 that went through, right? And so it's a really different life that I'm really embracing and having fun with after. And but it may be a little bit too much fun. Here's my mugshot from when I spent 11 hours in Washoe County Jail. But that's a story for the bar, actually. That's for sure. But you know, they serve wine in jail in Nevada. It's pretty cool. I love skiing, so I couldn't be, you know, I'm close to Tahoe, Kirkwood, Heavenly, Mount Rose and stuff. So I love that lifestyle. Love backpacking. So to me, I kind of actually in the beginning went because I thought the zombie apocalypse was coming, so I wanted out of LA and stuff. But really, it's just a really great lifestyle change for us. And plus, I get to work out of my home office, and here's my view. I mean, I just, you know, it's a really nice change of pace for us. And what I've noticed is that, you know, when you're relaxed and when you have no financial pressure and, like, the kids are pretty much out of the house and everything, you know, cost of living is so much lower, right? Our overhead is really low. It just, the abundance just keeps rolling. And then it's just stunning. I mean, and so things just keep getting better and better. So the energetic shift, you don't have to move to Carson City, but you know, it's really about an energetic shift and how you're attracting and vibrating. And I'm not just talking about on the Harley, you know, just that vibrates a lot, you know, when you're. Anyway, so I did in the mid-1990s, when I was still working as a nurse and raising all these babies, I still had the idea that maybe I could be an entrepreneur. And so I would go to all the classes, the courses, the weekend boot camps, spent way too much money, but I just kept my W-2 job, right? You got 4 babies and 2 mortgages and 3 dogs. And did we have a goldfish at that time? Or a rat or 2? Yeah, but anyway, finally, in 2004, I said, you know, so I was a tire kicker for a lot of years, and finally I just said, well, there's a bigger story to it than that. You know, a lot of times, anyone ever get spiritual guidance or the universe just gives you a swift kick in the rear? Okay, so it was one of those times I said, I'm just gonna jump. So I quit my job on a dime, gave away all my work, and said, oh, surely I will replace my 6-figure income within a year. Yeah, so anyway, that was a big shift from W-2 to entrepreneur. And the most important thing, it's my hope that I say something tonight that touches you, that means something, that changes your life, that gives you just one idea about notes and seller financing. But the most important thing that I could actually ever share with you is who I became because of that process. That's more important than anything actually. I'm going to tell you about number crunching. I love the financial calculator, even though Buddy's like way better at it than I am. But the thing is, I only need to know for about 5 buttons to build a business. I don't actually have to be a whiz. I'm not. But anyway, it's the personal development of who you become when you decide I'm following my guidance, I'm following my dreams, I'm live with passion, with purpose. That is what changes our lives and changes the world. So that is, I can just quit now. So bye. I think that was the finale. Okay, I get things backwards. But anyway, so I quit my job and I put on every hat in real estate. I go, well, my gosh, notes are secured by real estate. I guess maybe I should become an agent. So I became an agent, and then I started working with a company that was doing flips and did a lot of cold calling. And we got them to do a couple hard money loans, and then they went out of business when everything crashed. And that's when, creating financial. Yeah, so this is where no, seriously though, no queen, hopefully anyone who has known me for a while, is it working? They understand it's a tongue-in-cheek sort of thing, but really it sounds so ridiculous. Wait, didn't you tell people to wait? Hello, this is Dawn.
Hello, yes, it's me again, Mildred. How are you?
Oh, Mildred, I'm doing good. How are you? Is this our appointment time? Did I get or did you just get my cell phone somehow?
Yes, what's wrong? You're not up? It's 3 a.m. already. You millennials always sleeping in.
Oh, yeah, for some reason I am awake. It's not usually, but how can I help you, Mildred?
Yeah, you're probably tweaking out on something. Anyhow, I just had a question. I was sitting in my living room knitting, and I couldn't get this danged question out of my head. And I was thinking...
Okay.
That's right, I was thinking. And there's trouble when I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
well,
I was thinking, where the heck did this Queen of the Notes get that kind of name?
Oh, yeah, the Note Queen thing. That is kind of funny. It's kind of silly, isn't it?
Yeah, who elected you Queen of the Notes? Is there some sort of dictatorship, or is there some sort of democratically elected constitutional right ability?
It's I guess you could say it's a self-proclaimed monarchy.
Oh my gosh!
I'm just kidding. I'll tell you the real story, and it started out as a joke, and I'm sure that's not hard to imagine.
You think this is a joke?
What?
You think that this is a joke?
Oh, no. Well, the way that I got the brand Note Queen started out as a joke, and then I kept that joke and made it into a brand because I figured people will either love it or hate it, but they probably won't forget it. So I just thought I would just create a brand around that. Do you want to hear the story, or?
Oh, yeah. I want to hear the story. This sounds like a real sick scenario.
A real sick scenario? Wow,
Yeah.
you're really up on the trendy terms.
No, I don't mean sick like in the young, hip, cool skateboarding way. I mean sick like deranged. You made an entire career out of a joke? This is disturbing.
Oh, no, I totally get it. But I'll tell you real quick, and maybe it'll make sense. I'd quit my nursing job, and I was working for
a company that in the early to mid 2000s, they were flipping properties. They were buying low and selling high. And every time we'd have a meeting,
You were getting high?
no. I said they bought properties low and they fixed them up and they sold them for a higher amount.
Oh, okay. I like to get high too. I love medication.
Okay, that's great, Mildred. You'll have to tell me about that sometime. But anyway, once a day we'd have these meetings in the office. It's just a real estate office. They don't do any loans or any creative stuff at all. It's just buy all cash for one price and sell all cash for another price. And but I was always in love with notes and owner financing. So every time we were at one of our daily meetings, everyone's talking about, buying this, buying that, how much cash do we need? And I'm always asking, every single meeting I would be asking, well, what if we ask them to carry? What if they'll do seller financing for me? Then we don't need all the cash. And then I'm always talking about sellers, carrying a note, or we could carry a note on the other side when we're selling the property. And so since I brought that up all the time, there was a guy in the office. He was a gay guy. It was so funny. I only bring that up because of the twang that he would put on it was so funny, because he would just say every day at our meetings, he would say, "Hey, note queen," just to be funny, because I was always talk about owner financing and notes at our real estate meetings, and nobody else really cared one lick about it. So it was just a joke. So this guy in the office would always say, "Hey, note queen," and so a year later, when they closed down the office, because we had the big crash in 2007 and 2008 and stuff like that, where the real estate market tanked, they closed their doors, and I went off on my own, got my own broker's license, and I said, what the heck, I'll just keep calling myself Note Queen and build a brand around that. So that's actually how I got my name, just from some guy who gave me that nickname in a real estate office during the heyday of flipping properties.
Oh, he loved men and you loved notes. All sorts of interesting orientations going on in this forum.
Yes, ma'am. But that's the quick story, and I know it's late, and I should probably try to get back to bed. But does that satisfy your curiosity for the moment?
It does. It's much more deranged than I ever could have imagined.
All right, well, we get to have fun. You said right? So thank you for indulging me, because sometimes... So Mildred is going to be a guest on my podcast. We have interesting chats. So anyway, so let's see. This does actually work? So anyway, that's how I got started, and once I really got in the groove of what I did is I stopped doing the things. To me, being where I am now was, of course, you're always growing and learning and becoming, but I could almost say that it's more about unbecoming. It's about quit doing the things that aren't you, like peeling the layers of an onion. So little by little, instead of just chasing, the big commission or the big flip or the thing, or chasing all these short sales back in the heyday, I wanted to, shoot myself in the head dealing with banks with the short sales, and it was just, so I just little by little quit doing things just for the money because I was chasing the money, and what was left is, what do I love, and what is a natural fit for me, where do I fit in this? And so once I kind of gave up the struggle and the clawing after things, and I just said, okay, I'm only here to be of service. What do you want me to do? Because at some point, you run out of money. I'd used up all our net worth to go from RN to Note Queen, right? Kind of stuff gets real sometimes in your life, right? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? You want me to flip burgers? You want me to go back to nursing? Because I thought I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and they just said, shh, be quiet, wait. And I go, yeah, you're not very good with the checkbook. You seen the checkbook lately? It's a little stressful, right? But sometime just got quiet enough. And what happened is, instead of chasing the flip, chasing, the chunk of change, but everyone, not bad, right? Chunks of change are great. But for me, once I just decided all I need is a little more passive income this month than I had last month, just a little bit. Just don't think of flipping something. Be an investor. So I got a little note. It was really a teeny little note. I bought even a teeny part of that note, and a friend put up the money. I bought it at a 25% yield. I sold it. I borrowed money from him at a 15% yield, so that left me maybe, I want to say $70 a month spread on the payment. I got in one payment. He only needed that for his part, and just step and repeat. Just little bits. So it's the tortoise and the hare thing, right? So the tortoise thing is what worked. And once I got in alignment with that, it wasn't work. I wasn't scratching and clawing. It just seemed the deals would be coming, the investors would be coming, and I was just I was along for the ride. Instead of me trying to make this whole thing work, I was along for the ride. And all of a sudden I look back 18 months later, I go, well, oh my gosh, I have enough passive income with none of my own money to cover the PITI on my house. That's a nice base salary. So finally, the big roller coasters, I was off that, and it just kept going, right? And I don't really mind making big chunks of money, but that's not my orientation. My orientation is long-term wealth building, long-term cash flow. Maybe it doesn't sound sexy, but for me it is sexy. I love that. I love it so much. And so hopefully I can just inspire you guys to think about it. So, next time you say, well, can I flip this? Think like an investor. Can I keep it? How can you keep it? How can you keep a piece of it? And I owe that mind shift to Henry Dvorkin from Wichita Falls, Texas, who died, but he just said, quit thinking like a broker. You figure out how to be an investor. Keep a little tiny piece of it. That changed my life. So just for me, it's helpful when I was trying to figure out how do I convey where things fit together. To me, obviously, this is a symbol of balance, and it's associated with certain religions too, I think. It's also a sacred geometry and everything like that, but that's just how it worked out. But anyhow, so we have 3 principles in the market, and almost any one of us could be on any one of these things. You could be a principal, you could own property, you could be a seller, you could be a buyer, or you could be a passive investor. Those are the 3 principles in the marketplace. And then you have 3, professionals, people making a buck in between all these things. Real estate brokers making money between sellers and buyers. Mortgage brokers making money putting buyers together with mostly banks, right? Passive investors, although there's some hard money lenders, private lenders in here too. What's not very well known is this note broker thing, and in the way that I relate to it, it's when property sellers become the bank by carrying back paper, they a lot of times need to liquidate. They're down here, they're selling, they're a seller carryback, but sometimes they don't want to be, or they did at first and now they don't want to be. They need money, just like someone who owns a property. If there's motivation and they want to cash out, they'll take a discount. So then who's going to be that person? No buyer. So how many people do wholesaling? Show of hands. So you can wholesale a note just like you can wholesale a property. So just open your eyes. If you're out there pounding the pavement and digging up leads, just add this into something. Oh, I heard about, they carried a note. I wondered, did they want to? Was that a retirement planning strategy? Because it's a great retirement planning. When I was making all those cold calls working for that company, right, after I quit my nursing job, I would talk to all these older people who owned, tons of them. They would have this small portfolio of properties they owned free and clear, but they were older, they were tired, they really didn't want to manage, but what they wanted was to defer capital gains, to have income for retirement, and to leave a good inheritance for their kids. And I go, Ta-da! That's what you call, owner financing, becoming the lender instead of the landlord. And so I figured out I could reach people that would never sell for cash no matter what you gave them, because they're going to have that capital gains hit. And they need the income for retirement. So if I could show those people, a lot of the people, I could show them that they could double, this was some Southern California numbers, they could double their monthly payment and have none of the hassles and none of the surprises of maintenance bills and things like that, if they would carry paper on their rental portfolio. So that's how I kind of evolved, from nursing through this whole thing, right? So anyway, that's just the landscape. And so going back to what I said at first, if I can just show you that if you understand the discounted note business, it will allow you to create more solutions. I just want you to be comfortable making money no matter where you're at. This is all the same. It's same but different, right? Two sides of the same coin. My daughter says that. Same but different. I don't know where it came from. It's just one of those things. If you have maybe kids, So if we break down the passive investors, right? This is just a quick overview of how I think of the marketplace. This is the primary mortgage market. This is where notes come from, right? The banks, they lend money with a note and deed of trust, right? Private lenders, hard money lenders, they lend money, they get a note and deed of trust. Property sellers offer terms on property they already own, and they get a note and deed of trust. Everybody here originates the paper. Does that make sense? You and me cannot be this person, although it would be nice because of fractional reserve banking, how they can lend out money they don't even have. Like, I'd be a lot richer if I could lend out money I don't even have. And then if you don't pay me back, my pretend money that I lent you, I get to take your real property. I think that's a Ponzi scheme. And there's a reason, and I'm being sort of funny, but this fires me up bad. There's a reason that Henry Ford said, it is very well that the people of this country do not understand the financial system, otherwise there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning, okay? It's not good for us. It's like a tapeworm. Anyone ever? Raise your hand if you think you have a tapeworm. Okay, tapeworms, okay, because I'm a nurse, I can talk like this. It's fine. Tapeworms cause you to crave something that's not good for you, right? It's good for the tapeworm, not good for the host. Does anyone relate? I mean, come on. Nursing, you've been a parent? To me, that's what our financial system mainly is. And, Washington and Wall Street are set up to siphon wealth out of our pockets. And so I think it's really important that we learn how to work with each other. And I'll talk a little bit more about that before we wrap up. All right, so these people, they sell their notes into the secondary market, which is bought up by who? Right? So they find out what these people will buy before they make the loan, right? Because they're not going to keep the loan, right? But what I found is, and that's why I created the consulting aspect of my business, is because these people here don't think about the secondary market for notes. And so they just make it without understanding what they're doing to the value of their note. So if they understood that this is their secondary market and what that note buyer is looking for, then they can reverse engineer a note that's worth a lot more. It's worth holding. Owner will carry. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Thank you for asking. Owner will carry property sellers, right? That's where the landlord becomes the bank. Anyway, so this is, we can all be here. We can all be here. We can all be here. Same but different. Two sides of the same coin, the dance between property and paper. If you understand paper, you're going to understand property. If you understand property, you're going to understand paper. Of course, there's some variations. Okay, so now anything that's super unclear before what I think is most helpful to teach is just taking you through 2 or 3 just examples of how things worked out and stories. I like stories. So should I go on? Is there anything before I just launch on? Okay.
Go for it.
Thank you. Okay, so now speaking of Bakersfield, this was a deal. This was one of my very first deals as a baby note queen. Before I actually knew how to put that together really well, right? So you learn a lot by either pay for your education or you pay for your education, right? One way you're gonna pay. But if you're not in the game, right? Sometimes you just gotta get in there and just start, right? Okay, so whoops, I just feel bad for this side of the room. Okay. All right, I bought this property, and so I actually had, the company I was working for bought another property from this lady, and she really liked me, an older lady, but she says, and she had 5 properties. So we bought one, she got paid cash, and then when I called her about her other one, she said, oh no, you people, you have no idea the check I had to write to the IRS. We're not gonna do that again, but I sure am tired of this tenant over here that hasn't paid me for the last 6 months. I said, well, that's great. I think we can get you around your capital gains problem. You know, would you carry for me? I'll give you a down payment, and I'll give you payments, and you won't write that big check to the IRS. And she said, yeah, that would be great. At the time, the fair market value of that property was $135. I actually had a cash offer for $135 before I even bought it, or shortly thereafter. I bought it for $100. Actually didn't know what I was doing. I was brand new. I just walked the neighborhood and made a big stab at it and go, oh my gosh. But how bad can it be if you're only going to put $5,000 down, right? It's not like it's going to. Well, $5,000 was a lot of money for me at that time. Not going to lie. So I bought it for $100. I put down $5, and she carried a note for me for $95,000. So instead of me getting the money from the bank, who's siphoning wealth out of our communities, little mom and pop Lila, she carried the note for me. 5%, she asked her what she wanted, she said 5%, amortized over 30 years, and the monthly payment was $509.98. And in that time, how far away was I in Temple City to Bakersfield? Too far to manage a rental, right? Plus, not a lot of capital reserves for the what-ifs, like all the things I go, I gotta just turn this around. Because I don't, this landlord thing, I need to put on my big girl pants at some point. But I'd rather just collect the payment, and not deal with too many tenant issues. So I put it in the paper right away. It's still worth $135. I sold it for $122. Even though I had I had an offer for $135 from someone, but why I like this offer is because I love this mom and pop thing. They were just, this was an older lady that wanted to live by her daughter. She couldn't qualify for bank financing. Okay, that's part of why I even care about this thing. I don't care, cash is great, but I also like it to mean something. I like it to be building my vision, creating some financial solutions, just one mom and pop to another. So it was a feel-good thing too. It feels like, yeah, this is cool. She put $20,000 down. So then and I wrapped the other one, right? You guys know what a wrap is? Everyone know? The $95,000 is still there. I still owe Lila. But now Margarita owes me on top of that, right? So that 102 loan, inside of that is the $95,000 loan, so I only have $7,000 of spread there, right? Or equity-ish that was there, right? And I charge her 7.5. Is that a little bit higher than what I'm paying? It's called arbitrage. Make a spread on the money. And I matched it, except for the fact, right? 360, but I put a 10-year call in there, 10-year balloon. because I wanted the option to renegotiate terms or figure out what's going on at that time. Of course, it has to be not shorter than what my underlying financing is, right? So the payment she owed me, whoops, was the 713. So is that a little bit higher than what I'm paying Lila? So let's just look at this. This is not a really high-end property like 1.1, 1.5 million things we were hearing earlier, is it? It's like a little dinky property, right? Really? But let's look at this. What I put in my pocket right away. So I put 5,000 down and I took 20 down. So how much money do I have invested in this property? So basically, any return on investment is infinity return at this point, because I have nothing in it except, you know, the blood, sweat, and tears of W-2 to entrepreneur. That's can be stiff, right? It's not always the easiest path, but it's worth it if you love it.
I'm a little confused. So the original seller was avoiding capital gains, right?
Yes, sir.
So did you have to use a trust as a vehicle to?
Nope, just did a wraparound mortgage because she's not going to call the note. Number one, there was no due-on clause in there. Number two, she's not a big bank. She just wants her money.
The deed for the house, whose name is it?
And the person that owns it, Marguerite.
Does the original Lila, does she own it outright, or does she have a
She owned it free and clear. Did I say owned it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Strike that from the record. Good one. I didn't, but I should have. But the problem was, she was at that point, she told me she was going to occupy the property, so you're really not allowed to put in a prepayment on a consumer loan, right?
How long do you like your payments for?
Pardon?
How long do you like your prepayments?
I hardly ever put them in, but like if I'm making a private loan, like my investors want at least 3 months worth of interest to make it worth to look at the paperwork and punch the wire over. But for regular people, I almost never, ever put them in because I don't like trapping people into things. It just doesn't feel right. The karma doesn't feel good to me. Well, great. This is going to unfold a little bit in the story. Thank you for bringing that up. But I don't disagree with prepayment penalties like in commercial situations where you're trying to avoid, I'm just talking mom and pop, they're going to live in the property. That's what I'm talking about. I do agree with prepayment penalties in commercial situations and sophisticated investors and things like that, when it makes sense. I agreed to a big prepayment penalty when I bought the first commercial building that we ever bought. And I understood why they did it, and I agreed to it. So I paid it.
I'm a licensed MLO. Would I be subject to different regulations or rules as someone who wasn't licensed?
No, but you guys know what a licensed mortgage originator is? If you're going to do seller financing, this is called gold. You need to have licensed mortgage originators. It helps you stay compliant, proving ability to pay, debt-to-income ratios, things that you want to make sure that you're not ever putting someone in a situation that sets them up for failure, especially an owner. You do not want to be the lender in a foreclosure in front of the judge with a homeowner. Who's going to look like the jerk? Don't be the jerk and don't look like a jerk, even if you are a jerk. So,
So you're saying you'll grab an MLO, or you probably have somebody that you work with, to have them pre-qual that person before that you...
Yeah, so if you're going to be in the business of churning this kind of paper, you got to have a licensed mortgage originator underwriting you. So let me get through this story before we take more questions. Will?
Oh, yeah, I was going to say on the balloon, because you have a balloon on this one now. Dodd-Frank doesn't allow that anymore, of course, mortgages.
5 years.
On firsts? 5 years.
And this was originated in 2007. Just keep that in mind. And then it turns out she lied to me. She actually just kept it as a rental. I found that out afterward, so it was a rental. And I thought it was, Well, it's fine. I still, hey, I'm fine. I'm not complaining, right? So let's just see how much I should complain. I put 15,000 up front, and then here's my spread on the monthly payment, right? So if it had all gone according to the paperwork and according to, you know, the ideal plan, 120 payments of 20322 equals, I'll get another, besides 15,000 now, I'll get another 24,000 over the next 10 years. And at that point, because my loan's amortizing at 5%, so the balance is going down sooner than her loan at 7.5%. So at the end of 10 years, there's an $11,000 spread. So I'll get paid on that. Do you get how powerful that is? Val, you're the first one to buy me a beer afterward. Okay, 15, 24, $50,000 on a little tiny thing? Are you freaking kidding me? How could I much I can make if I wholesaled that deal? Got under contract for 100. I'm gonna flip it for 5, 10. Quick money, yay. Well, I got quick money. And I wouldn't care if I didn't. Look at these other numbers. And how much work did I have rehabbing and managing that? None. Lazy, raising my 4 kids. Okay, so really, the reason I have this here is because I was a property buyer, so I was standing on this part. Then, real quick, I turned into a property seller, and then, and when I did, I turned into a passive investor holding an owner-carry note. Look at that. I've already been all over this in just 2 weeks. Okay, projected cash in my pocket. So let's talk about real life. Then what happened? Then, about 5 years in, fair market value was this. How much did she still owe me? What would you guess? Do you think she still owed me? More. Right? It's still at the beginning, very low amortization. Do I want her to default on that? What do you think I was willing to do? So number one, this is inexactly, but right, I had that $7,000 spread, right? So I just decided I would do a principal, a write down of the loan, but I charged her for it. You know, every $1,000 she gave me, I gave her $2,000 credit-ish. So she paid me $3,000 to write it down and drop my interest rate to 5%. Her payment stayed the same, right? So now I got $3,000, but I lost my monthly spread on it, right? Because what's Lila counting on me for? Her retirement. She already had a pain-in-the-butt tenant. Do I want to be a pain-in-the-butt, you know, payer on her note? No, she's counting on me. She trusts me, and, you know, I want to do right by her, and I don't want it to cost me a lot of money or a lot of grief. This is the easiest way, but I still put some money in my pocket, right? So they were happy with that. They were really happy with that, right? So that's just how that played out. And then the funniest thing happened. Lila calls me up. She doesn't have email or a cell phone. She called me from her landline, and sometimes even her message machine doesn't work. Okay, Dawn, you know I have no family, and I have no friends, and I need money. And I go, Lila, what could you need money for? Like, nice old lady. Oh, I almost sound like a drug dealer or something. You know, I'm like, I can't tell you what it's for, but I gotta have it by Monday. Honey, I gotta have it by Monday. Lila, it's like Friday. It's like Friday. I can't even wire the money, right? And plus, it's New Year's Eve day. Plus, she has to have cash in her hand. And I look in my piggy bank and, well, I did have cash. Because I don't know, for me, I don't keep all my money in the bank. I think it's one of the least safe places you could keep your money, right? So there's my little bias coming out. Okay, it's just like the weirdest thing, but I go, okay, so literally, New Year's Eve day, I have $16,000 in my car. I drive up to Gorman, California. She drives down from Bakersfield. She needs a loan. Now, I'm paying her on an owner carry note, but now she needs an origination. Now I put on not the owner carry hat, I put on a private lender hat. It was snowing even. And we're sitting in the parking lot at McDonald's. You guys know that McDonald's? Some of you do. And it was like the weirdest thing. 200, 300, 400.
It's desolate out there. We were just there.
It was funny. Okay? She wrote me a note for $18,000. She wouldn't tell me what's it for. She said, I don't know how long I need it, maybe 2 months, maybe 6 months. And what did I use as security, do you think? The note that I owe her. Now, actually, it technically wasn't proper because there was no notary there, but I had her assign the note to me subject to her paying off her loan, so if she doesn't pay me back, I don't owe her until I recoup my money, right? So isn't that weird how you can kind of use the thing that I owe her to securitize a loan that is funky, huh? It's just like, is this not mom and pop solutions? Okay, don't, huh? Pardon?
You wrote all that up yourself.
I just make up stuff. Yeah, I like to make up stuff and do it. I did not have an escrow. I had my daughter came with me because she thought this was going to be a riot to watch this, and it was. She'll never forget that, buddy.
So we talked about this before. What made you decide to maybe structure it as a loan rather than buy?
She didn't understand that. It would have been way complicated. All she knows is she needs $16,000 in cash Monday morning, not Monday afternoon. And I'm going, what the heck is going on?
But you all have also done a modification with a principal reduction on your loan for $18,000?
I could have done that. Actually could have done that. There again, that might have been weird for her because she's the kind of person where at the closing, she got an amortization schedule for the next 30 years and she marks it off. And if I started paying her $5.10 just because 2 cents more, you know, she goes, honey, you got to quit doing that because it would bust her up because it didn't match. Serious, right? This is real life stuff, right? It's great, right? It's rich. I charged her, hey, I had to drive last minute on the holiday to Gorman. I'm going to make money. No, I got to get paid, right? And she needed it and actually didn't know if she'd pay me back. I mean, I figured she would. It's just like, what the hell, you know? So anyway, just different hats you can put on with the same relationship. Thus cometh the maturity date. That's this year, this month, actually. So last year.
Wait, did you ever get paid back?
I did. The funny thing is she disappeared for like 3 months. She would not, and I'm going, oh my gosh. She just disappeared and she wouldn't return a phone call or anything like that. I go, that is crazy.
But you're mailing your payment to her every month, or putting it, where's your payment going?
I can't remember actually if I suspended it during that time or I kept sending it. I must have known she was alive because I probably kept sending the payment and she kept cashing it. So, but the weirdest thing is I thought it was actually going to be funny, but it turned out it took her longer than she thought, but she eventually paid me back. And she never did tell me what it was for. So anyway, now Marguerite, who's paying me, who has that 10-year call, she's up against a maturity date, and I said, if you guys want to extend, no, it's not on this slide. Anyway, so last year, I said, you guys know this is coming up next year, so I want you to be thinking if you're going to refinance or if you're going to sell, you better be thinking about it, because a year goes by really quick, right? Try to help people out, figure out, we don't have a big come to Jesus thing that has to happen dramatically. And it was still worth, I think it was about the 110-ish. It had gone down in value from when she bought it. So it would be a good time for her to do something. But they didn't do anything. They just didn't do anything. So now they're all like stressed out. And now the market value is lower. So they say that now it's only worth maybe 90 or 100. She still owes me at this point $79,000. And she couldn't qualify for a loan. She just found out that she couldn't get a loan. I'm going, that's why I was kind of having you guys do this last year. And she said, I know, I'm sorry. I said, I'll extend, but I'm going to put your interest rate back up to the 7.5 to extend you. And she goes, no, that's just too high. And we're sick of this property anyway. We just want to, can you just give us, so now they're putting it on the market and seeing if they can get a few shekels out of it or whatever. So, I mean, if they came back to me and said, okay, we'll take your mod, I'll leave it. I don't want to take it if they want it, but if they, I don't know, I think it's fair. 7.5 private money is fair on their end, but they don't want to pay the rate. They don't want to own it. So I'm going to give them a couple of months to see what happens. What happens if they sell? I get paid $79,000, but I owe Lila, remember that there's still a spread well, not as much of a spread, but I still owe her so $77,000. So if they pay us both off, I still get another $1,700 in my pocket. This is the gift that keeps giving. Unless Lila doesn't want to get paid off, right? Capital gains she counts on that $500. She really counts on it every month. Those capital gains, right? So what will I do? If I want to get paid off, that's fine with me, but she doesn't, what will I do? I will just switch out the collateral to another property now that I own in my hometown-ish area. Similar value of property, mobile home on land. It's worth about the same amount, so it would be equal collateral. So I could keep paying her, and she could keep the income coming. And so then if I get paid off, now I have $79,000 of 5% money. Is that nice to play with? Who wants 5% money to play with? It's kind of awesome.
How do you switch that?
You substitute I would write her a new note. I don't have to write her a new note, but in this case she said, well, honey, if we're going to do that, I want you to put a balloon in at 5 years, because maybe I'll be really old and I'll want my money. I go, great. So instead of a full 30 years, gave her the opportunity to write in a 15-year call, but she doesn't want to be paid now, but maybe in 5 years. So I would just rewrite the note, same everything, so she wouldn't get confused, and then just secured by a different property. So that note gets secured by a different deed of trust on a different property.
What's she paying taxes on at this point? The interest income? If she owns free and clear, there's capital gains somewhere.
Yeah, so it's a proration based on these little calculations that these people think of.
It's just lower. It's a lower.
Yeah, so she pays it over time instead of all at once. So her capital stays at work in the property, making her money instead of just sitting, in the IRS where they do all of that good charitable work. What happens if they don't sell? They probably just hand the property back to me. Guess what? I go from here, I go back here. I'm a property owner again. The gross rents are $900. So I take 65% of that and figure I'll have a $585 cash flow, but I still owe Lila. So maybe I'll have $75 a month plus depreciation. Now I can start depreciating the property if I want to for tax purposes and potential future appreciation, I don't know, goes up and down a lot over there. Or I could resell it on a wrap, do the whole game all over again, right? Someone who would be willing to pay a premium to have owner financing to be in that property. But like, I don't really like the headaches, and I'm even farther away now, but how much have I been paid to own this rental house? Let's recap this. $15,000 up front. For 5 years, I got $203, so I made $12,000. Remember, I made $2,000 loan because of this relationship with Lila. I made a $3,000 loan mod fee. So right now, I've made $32,000. They've paid me $32,000 to become a landlord if I have to. Gosh. Could be worse. Then I moved to Nevada. So that's the end of that story. Was that fun? I love that Lila story. I love that one. Okay, I'm not moving fast enough probably, but it's okay. So then I moved to Nevada, and for a year I pretty much do nothing. Just sort of like shell-shocked from the move and everything, and wondering what I want to be when I grow up, and am I still on target? Am I still of service? Am I still, is this still my passion? And then I go, yeah, okay, I'm ready to do something. Well, I want to get involved in the game locally. Well, I'm not saying I didn't do anything. The note business had a life of its own, right? It's just I didn't do anything new. Just kept with the things that I had already built, and they just kept coming. Plus, when you get that passive income, look, when you have a little bit of passive income and you just drop your expenses by half, what starts to happen? Nobody cares if you go to work because your passive income exceeds your expenses. So I like living simply. I like my expenses to be low. That truck, yeah, it's been a little bit of a money pit. But the motorcycle, it was used, just to be fair. I'm just saying, and then I buy cash, right? I don't have a lot of monthly overhead that I have to pay, right? I like that because then I'm free, right? Free. Okay, so I want to start playing. So how do I play? How do I start playing in my backyard? I want to do my backyard now. I love this town. I know I'm going to stay here. How do I start playing? Well, I start going to this meeting. Someone says you should go, or a little lunch group meeting, and one of the guys there says, hey, a friend of mine, she's trying to get into real estate. She just bought this little mobile home. She wants to buy and hold it as a landlord, but she needs $11,000. Can you do her the favor of the loan? She'll pay you 11%. I'm like, okay, but like, how much am I making a lot of money? I mean, I don't know. 11% is decent, right? Except for, it's not like I'm charging points. It doesn't even make sense, right? So it's just like, it's about getting in the game and doing something. Just do it, okay? It fell on my lap. Because I did that, I met Doug, who's a licensed MLO kind of guy for the mobile home space, right? He has to do all the closings. So he knows a lot of people. So he wanted to know who is this unsuspecting person that was loaning their $11,000 secured by this crappy little mobile home. Obviously not very educated. Well, then we built a relationship, right? And so I met Doug. So at that point, I was a private lender, right? On that hat right there. Because of that, I met Doug. Because I met Doug, and he does all these closings in mobile home parks. He knows a lot of people, and he knows who's carrying paper. And there was a manager of a mobile home park in Carson City that had a note that they wanted to sell. I go, fun, yay. Drive 3 miles, sit down. So if I buy the note, what hat? Now I've got this hat. I'm still a passive investor, but I'm down here buying that note, someone else's seller carry note, right? This note, original sales price of the house was $42,000. The buyer paid $7,000. The note amount was $35,000. The interest rate was 7.5%. They had fully amortized it over 7 years. That made the monthly payment $536.84 on top of space rent. You realize that mobile home paper is by nature a second priority lien, a junior lien, right? What's first position? Base rent. It's like can be a really nasty first, depending, right? That's why it's all about the relationship. She'd made 54 payments. There was a balance left of $14,600. Is it even worth doing? Do you think it's worth doing? I wonder. Okay. 30 payments left. I paid $10,000. She was super happy with that. Normally it would be less, but it's right in my backyard. And what am I doing? I'm building a relationship. I'm playing, taking the things I know how to do and playing with whatever comes in front of me. So that's not bad, right? 41% yield, did it for the relationship. And then I said, I'd really like to get in the real estate side of things. I've always been on the paper side, and now I want to be a real estate investor too. I want to add to the portfolio, and if I can buy more real estate, I can do more owner financing to get more people in homes to own them. So I got to get good at being a real estate investor in my town because I want to play bigger. I want to make more of a difference where I live. So she says, I know someone who wants to sell their home. I go, well, I don't even know what it's worth though. I have no idea. She goes, that's all right, you'll be okay. So we go over there. A seller wanted $12,000. It was a double wide, short double wide. And I was such a great negotiator, got them all the way down to $11,000. Whoa, man, do I play hardball. I'm just cut out for this. I so cut out for this. I'm joking, it's funny. Okay, rehab and holding, $4,000. It didn't need that much. All in, I'm at 15, and I wanted to sell it quick for 21. I actually wanted more, but that's what I sold it for. So now I'm this again. I have a property. Now I'm going to sell it. I'm an owner carry. Well, I ended up owner carrying because she didn't have all cash. This is a mom, single mom with 2 kids. She might have 3. Anyway, feel good. She wants a home. She wants to get out of the apartment, right? Wants to build a little more stability for her family. She had a decent amount down, and so she gave me $6,000. That left her with a $15,000 note at 10.5%. This is what the closer guy said, based on Dodd-Frank and what I think is reasonable. I think we said 8 points above. What's the rate? The index? What's that index called? I forget. But anyway, monthly payment. So she's paying me $260 a month generally. So my yield is 29%. Wait, no, she's only paying 10.5. No, because I only have $9,000 left in the deal, right? I had 15 in and she gave me 6. So my 9,000 is working at this. Does that make sense? Yeah. Not too bad for little teeny bits of money. It's not like a lot of money though, but step and repeat and then add zeros or add 2 zeros. I mean, this doesn't work in every price point, obviously. You know, there's different ways to play it. And because I did that, and they were happy with me because I got the property in the park, I fixed it up nicely, and I got the lot performing, and so they were happy with me. So we built this relationship. Then this happens. She said, oh, well, so happens that this park has 16 empty lots. So it's a 180 space park, and just for the purpose of this, let's just call it, I'm making these round numbers, so she had 16, she actually had more than that. They're having trouble with, you know, some of their lots. But she had these things, 16 empty spaces, and the owner does not have the liquid capital to bring things in to make those lots performing. At $525 a space, they're losing $8,400 a month or $100,000 a year in lost revenue. And is it fair to say you can sell parks at a 10 cap, or if you're buying at a 10 cap? What's the number? If so, that's $1 million in unrealized value of the park, just there. I cultivated a relationship of trust with the owner and manager. Otherwise, I walk away. You don't do business because they have the upper hand. They can chop you off at the knees if they want to. Ask me how I know. Have I talked about seminars before? You get a seminar. Do you pay for your education, or do you? Pay for your education.
So you get new needs.
Okay, so solution, she says, I heard word on the street, and this is just in this week, that there's a mobile home park up at South Lake Tahoe they're winding down, they're shutting down the mobile home park because they finally got their entitlements and everything, and they're putting this massive beach club development, multi-million-dollar beach club development. So they need all these mobile homes off to start their infrastructure. They're supposed to be putting in like lickety-split. They had 3-4 months before they're starting to break ground. They need these homes off. They need them gone. They need them gone. They have the empty spaces. I'm just starting, since I'm really, really brilliant, just started to make, I wonder if there's a solution to be had. And if they demo them, the park has to pay $3,500 to send it to landfill. Have you ever been to a landfill? I mean, living in where I can take my truck, fill up with crap, and go to the dump, that's a great thing to be able to do, because then you look and you go, this is disgusting. Landfills are disgusting. So also I could keep the landfill from having a bunch of more mobile homes, and maybe I can make home ownership for a few more people in Carson City. But it's expensive to move a mobile home. This was my best bid, $10,000 a pop. Ouch. The next best was $15,000. Right? What you gonna do? They have you over a barrel. $7,500 to rehab, guessing. I was actually hoping $5,000, but that was silly. So that would mean I have $17,500 all in for each, and I'm just, and they'll only sell, because they're older mobile homes, right? They're older mobile homes. They're only going to sell average $25,000 cash. So after carrying costs, that only amounts to maybe $5,000 per unit, or $80,000. Not good enough, considering all the risk, right? And all the money out of my pocket. That's a lot of money. That's not going to work. I wonder what would. So being involved in the discounted note business and creative financing, it's a way to change your thinking. So it's more about changing the way you think than actually memorizing formulas or anything like that. Would you agree, buddy? Yeah. Changing the way you think gives me an advantage, right, over just the guy who's trying to wholesale a house in my same town. I negotiated free space rent from the owner until each lot is owner occupied. That's my biggest risk, is that first lien position of space rent. So I want, as long as it takes me to get these performing, I want it. I'm not going to be saying, oh, you have 6 months or you have a year. No, as long as it takes me. I'm not going to be paying space rent if I'm going to do this project and add $1 million of value to your park. No, sirree, I'm not going to be paying you space rent. Further, and he had to scratch his head for a while, and that made me scratch my head. So we're all scratching our heads. I'm going, it's just weird. Sometimes people who even are in charge of properties that are worth several millions of dollars don't always think very commonsensically and speak as well as I do with my grammarization. But anyway, so it's just really something. You do not have to be a brain surgeon to be a very successful real estate investor. Okay, so basically we worked it out. He's going to pop me back all my moving costs. I want my moving costs wiped out, but he doesn't have the cash to do it, or maybe he'd do the project himself. See, there's Nevada. So, but what he can't afford to pay me is when I get someone in there paying space rent. So he's going to pay me, out of every $525, he's going to pay me $415. That still leaves him enough to cover the water and trash and sewer that they cover for the tenants, right? So they're not going negative. Anyway, so basically that's almost $10,000, right? So, but that's over 2 years. It's not cash in my pocket now, right? But it still works, right? So for all intents and purposes, moving costs are eliminated. It's just I have to wait a little bit of time. But for me, does time bother me? No, because I think just a little more passive income, a little more wealth this month than I had last is how I think. The Tahoe Park would have to spend $3,500 to demo them, so I said, how about you pay me $1,000 for each one that I get out of here for you, and you don't have to demo. So they cut me a check for $16,000 when I got the last one out of there. So it's fair, right? I mean, I'm taking on a lot of risk. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I've never done anything like this before. But what it takes is like, okay, I've spent a long time of learning and getting in and doing it and thinking. So I go in and I say, interesting, seems logical. I take a step. I go meet with a developer. That was an interesting meeting. He's a lot more high-powered than me, but it's still feeling good. It still makes sense. Take the next step. Okay, now I've had this guy come up and look at it with me, who supposedly knows what he's talking about, so still makes sense. Gut still says yes. Numbers still potentially make sense. I'm willing to walk away and say, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe no. I'm willing to walk away, but as long as it keeps feeling good, the intuition, just take the next step. That's all it was, is the willingness to take the next step, listen to your gut, and be willing to walk away.
You're still out of pocket over $100,000.
A lot of money, yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Sean. It is a lot of money. Yeah, so rehab projects. All I got to do, right? Moving costs are out of the way. Now all I got to do, oops. Oh, shucks. What? That is weird. Sorry about that. I don't know how, they can set this up for me and I will find a way. I will just find a way. It's a gift that I have. Okay. All I got to worry about is the rehab. Okay, I'm a paper person. And at times, I wish I would have just burned up some of these things. I mean, This is the Note Queen trying to rehab a mobile home. Okay, I had planned, I said, okay, if it takes me $7,500 to fix each one up, let's say I'm wrong. I said, it's probably going to take me 10. And I wonder if I'll still do the deal if it takes me 10. So I'd be in it for 10, each unit, and I can sell it for 30 with owner carry at a $5,000 premium. Okay, just put that, whatever the number is in your area for your collateral. $5,000 down, $25,000 loan amount, 11% interest. Doug said I could do 11, term 96, that's 8 years. Monthly payment $392 or call it $400. Most people that are renting, at least in my area, between $400 and space rent, it's a wash with renting somewhere else. So this number, most people can handle this.
$900 a month?
Pardon?
$900 a month cheaper than rent?
Or the same. But in this case, they get to own it, plus it's larger, plus no one can give them an eviction notice at the drop of a hat. So I'm in it for 10, really, because in my mind I've washed out the space rent, because it's coming back to me over time from the park. So I get $400 for 8 years. That's almost $38,000 in payments, and minus 10. And yeah, but time goes fast. Anyone have gray hairs in here besides me? Okay, time goes fast. That's almost $28,000 in profit on a crappy little mobile home, a really old, old mobile home. So we fixed it up as nice as we could, but oh my gosh, sometimes people flip $200,000 properties and don't make that much. So, or if I sold for $25,000 cash, so if I just figured at a cash, if everyone just cashed me out, would this project still make sense? Well, that's $15,000. 15,000 times 15. Now that starts to sound like it's worth doing. Not 80,000, but 240, because I can be wrong by a lot and still it was worth the seminar, right? All right, if I carry, I only have $5,000 of my money left in the deal because I'm in it for 10, they give me 5 down. So I've only got $5,000 of that portion locked up in the property. So my yield on that is 94%. How many of you are making 94% on every 5,000? Like if you could do that, if you could step and repeat, would it be okay? Okay, but also,
You still got $100,000 plus the moving costs.
right, and so that's out of my pocket. Over 2 years, I get reimbursed for that. But it's still, I don't know how to figure that part on the calculator, and Buddy could maybe do it, but I can't. I just know it's, if I actually need a calculator to figure out if I should do it, then it's not good enough. But I know that overall the numbers make sense, and I know that my value and my mission is to create mom and pop solutions and to get more people being homeowners in my town. So it works with my mission too, right? So there's more reasons. Plus my gut kept saying, go. If my gut said, no, these numbers don't mean anything, you get confirmation. That's why the most important thing you can do is learn to hear and trust your own voice. That is the most important thing you can have, right? Doesn't matter the financial calculator. If I need capital to finish up the project or start another one, I wonder what I do if I've carried paper on all these things. And look at how much money. He made the point. I still got all that money out for the moving costs. Very slow coming back from the park. And now if I'm carrying, oh my gosh, what do I do if I have money? If I need money? What would I do?
Sell your notes.
I could hypothecate. I could borrow against the note. But yeah, sell the note. But yeah, partials. So, right? Okay. Now just to set the stage, now I used to, but I don't anymore, but if I would buy a note secured by a mobile home in a park where I do not have the direct relationship with the owner and the manager, owner and the manager, and especially if it's way far away from me, okay, if I would buy it. Right now I won't because it can be too big of a pain. It's very rare circumstances, special circumstances. But if I would, what do you think I'm going to pay for that $25,000 note from somebody else in a place far, far away in the galaxy?
Very late.
What?
Very little.
Very little. Like 50 cents on the dollar would be generous probably. Because I have a lot of risk because okay, I know I can sell them for $25,000 cash, but really, I'm only in it for $10,000 cash. So the bare bottom cash value to an investor is a lot lower than an owner, a retail buyer. So it's just lower. So I wouldn't buy paper. My standard for mobile home paper is 50 cents, but I won't even buy that unless there's a lot of other things in place. So, but here's where I have an unfair advantage because I've been in the note business and because I've built relationships. Remember, I was out of my own money by the time I started buying notes. Blew through all my net worth. Not just mine, hers too. That's a good wife, right? She kept believing in me. I don't know why, but I'm really glad. So I've been in the note business long enough and with people who have built these relationships. So because of our history together, they'll pay par for my notes. Does that give me an advantage as a real estate investor? So whether in real estate or notes or whatever you're doing, your most successful thing is to build capital, your private money partners, and people who have a relationship with you and they trust you. So for me, a $25,000 note is the same as $25,000 cash because of all the things. And that our small mom and pop, they know that we're good for it. And because we're not going to sell very many of these notes, first you would say, well, that's pretty stupid people you have working for you that are going to do that. But there's relationship equity, there's character equity, and we're not selling very many notes. I just am going to sell enough to stay liquid enough to finish the project or whatever I need, right? Because I like the cash flow, so I have plenty of cash flow to cover if anything goes wrong. And this is in my backyard, and I have the relationship with the park, so I can have a lot more control. And if anything goes sideways, you can know I'm going to take care of it. So that's just to say that your net worth is related to your net work.
So what that means is the investor's willing to accept the yield of the note at face value.
Yep, that means I have a note for $25,000 in a week.
5%.
Yeah, I'm writing the notes at 11. So if they take it at par, they get 11%. Some of my people are happy with 9. So what that means is I could even sell it for higher than the note balance if I wanted to. I wouldn't do that. But, you know, it's what it means. It's how the little money spread works. You guys with me so far? You still having fun? Because I'm only going to torture you for 12 more minutes. Because Iris said that's all I get, more. Because it's a school night. She does have a point there. Okay, if I didn't have to sell any of the notes, I would keep, I'm making them boilerplate. This is not real life, you know that. Everything's a little bit different. But I would get $392 a month for 16 mobiles, so that would be $62.83 a month for 8 years from borrowers. That's less than my monthly nut. Then I get 415 times 16, I get $6,600 back for 2 years. So what that means is I get almost $13,000 a month for the first 2 years. And we know that some are selling, they're not all selling on the same day, right? This is a process, but right? I don't know how to explain it any other way. And then when they're done paying me back for the parts, then I only have this much coming in for another 6 years after that. And what do I have in again? 160,000 moving, 160,000 rehab, minus the 16,000. I'll take it from the park that they gave me. So I'm in it for 304 cash. And the yield, I hope I did this right, buddy, is, you can do that uneven cash flow thing. I counted at 37%. And what did we do? What have I done with this project? It's nice that I make money. It's really nice if I don't lose money. But what have I done? Created relationship. Yeah, I just added $1 million of value to that park. If they're not, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm
Get a piece of that pie. That's what
I want to buy the park. That's my real goal. But I didn't know that until after. I'm going, what? I have all this risk, and I'm making this over a 2-year period. It's not even all at once. And I put $1 million. So if they don't treat me right, I really get the no queen attitude. I'm like, what? Okay, seminars. Relationships, have you noticed they can be complicated? Okay, I'm just sharing, what I'm trying to do is, we got the seminar and we positioned ourselves in the market. So guess what? When you're playing, when you're in motion, what tends to happen? Other opportunities find you because you're in it. So I'm just sharing the way I think and how my process has unfolded. I think I'm about out. But yeah, like who cares? What? But who cares?
Why care?
So it's all fancy and the numbers sound sexy and it's like, oh, good for her, she could do that. Who cares? It comes down to chickens, basically. Okay, when we lived in Temple City, in the middle of suburbia, we had chickens in our backyard because we thought that was a real hipster thing to do, real tree hugger kind of thing. And now I'm all Nevada, like, you know, guns and motorcycles and stuff like that. No, I'm just... But because you have a chicken in your backyard and you're trying to eat an egg from your chicken, then this thing starts to happen in your head. You're like, wait, what did the gardener put on the lawn? Because the chickens are going peck, 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 peck. Okay, so whatever I put in the yard ends up in my chicken, ends up in my egg, ends up in my belly. So I start to see the wholeness of systems. What I do matters. right? So now I'm more careful. I'm not trying to be tree hugger and not put pesticides. I just don't want to eat shit, right? It's going to give me cancer. So it starts making sense on a real guttural level, right? So owner financing and notes and having the ability to think, how do I balance risk and reward, right? How do I balance risk and reward between all the parties? How do I think, how can I create financial solutions, one mom and pop and another? That's local money. It's organic. They actually have to, like people like you and me, we have to earn our money. So when we lend it, it matters. And we have heartbeats on the other side of it. A bank, remember, they get to lend money they don't even have. And they get bailed out when they lose. They're tapeworm. They're sick for the system. They make you, so I have a thing, no banks. Cash, owner carry, private money. That's the only way I'll do anything buying or selling. No banks. Well, I don't care. If someone wants to buy something from me and they get a bank, well, I don't care. But I'm personally not going to buy into that system because it's yucky. So non-government manipulated organization. Range free. This is what this is to me, is like the good feeling of eating the eggs that come from the chicken in your backyard. Because here's an example. So when we moved to Carson City to escape the zombie apocalypse, we did not know what we were doing. I signed a lease, sight unseen, of the only 5-bedroom house that was for rent, because we needed 2 home offices. And we needed 5 bedrooms. There's only one house, so send me the lease. Well, we ended up falling in love with that house, and we wanted to buy it, but do I go and get bank loans? No, I did not have $300,000 cash. So what am I going to want, naturally? Owner carry. He owned it free and clear, but they did not know what owner carry was. It took us 6 months plus to get them comfortable with the idea, talking to their attorney and their CPA and get everyone on board. No, we're not scamming you. Okay, so, but I wanted that from him. I wanted owner carry from him. While him and his wife were working that over, and he owns the local garden center in town, he said to me, Dawn, I think you do this different sort of business, and I've got a guy that works for me, Poncho. His wife is pregnant with their 4 kid, and they're in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath mobile home. And he needs a bigger house. And you think you can help him? I go, maybe. Well, he's got $30,000 cash saved up. Yep, I'm pretty sure I can do something with that. Poncho, go pick out the house you want. What can you afford? Let's work that out. What can you afford? Okay, go pick out the house. So I went and bought it cash, and then what did I do? Marked it up a little bit, because I've got to put groceries on the table too, and sold it to him on terms, right? So now, this gets really touchy-feely, because there's my landlord is his boss, and I want him to offer me terms, so I treated him really good. And gosh, I'm going to shop at the garden center because I want him to stay in business so he can pay Poncho, so Poncho can pay me, so I can afford to pay David for the house so that he has money to pay Poncho. And if I have extra jobs, who do I want to give them to? Little jobs around the yard or whatever? I want Poncho, because I want Poncho to do well, because I want him to pay me. So I can pay my investors and make money, so I can pay David for the house. And do you see how it matters now? It's not just, who cares, numbers, loans, dumb shit like that. It's relationships. I want the people in my space to do well because they're part of my circle. So it's all about chickens, basically. creating financial solutions, just one mom and pop to another. This is why it matters to me. I love financial calculator. I like making money. I like having the lifestyle that I have. But to me, this matters. Us taking our lives back. We have a corrupt financial system. The best we can do is to figure out how we work with each other, starve the beast, starve that tapeworm, make it run out of you, because it's, you get it. I don't have to tell you about the running out part. Okay, now we're kind of out of time. I mean, I've talked about some little things. I mean, even an interesting thing, Laguna Niguel, got brought in as a consultant. They had a $4 million sale, 2,000 down, 2,000 note. How do we put it together so if we need to sell it, we can get the most money? The way we did it, I could pay them 93 cents on the dollar. That's incredible. Then there was because I hang around with like demented people who buy non-performing paper, I go, well, maybe I'll do that if it drops in my lap. Well, because I'm just paying attention, because I'm learning how to think differently all the time, I bought a second position non-performing divorce lien. The husband quit paying the wife, and she's mad at him. I bought it for 10, and 9 months later, I got a short payoff for 80,000. Okay, so there's stuff that happens when you're paying attention and when you learn to think and take risk, calculated risk, right, and follow your guidance. Okay, I do, go find me over at notequeen.com. I hold a monthly free call called Virtual Coffee. Anyone been on that? A couple people? Great. It's one of the things that I love the most because it's like how I can just engage with people and we can talk about owner financing notes, no BS, and just solve problems and hang out. If you want above and beyond that, I have a group. You can become a citizen of the realm, and I can take my sword and knight you. Try not to chop off your head by accident. It's not very sharp. It's all right. You can find out about that at notequeen.com. I'd love to have you. If this resonates with you, then go deeper. If it doesn't, thank you for being here anyway, right? Just put it away for some time later when this seed will sprout, because I think it will for everyone who this is your real calling. And don't make bad notes. This is a really, really bad note. And so just for fun, now just to tell you, oh, whoops, I'm going over time. 3 years ago, I played this at your Studio City for the first time. I was so freaking nervous. I brought my guitar. I had just written this song 2 weeks ago because I just like, making money and what is this club about? Having fun. I love having fun, right? It is the note business, so music goes perfectly with the note business. Tracy Chapman and I worked on this together, just so you know. Bad note. Sell me those prints. Me myself, I got money for you. You got it. I got a plan to get us through this. Been working hard on the tapes. New ideas, you don't have to sell it all. A partial might be the way to go. That way we both win. I get safety, you get more. I love partials. That's one of the most powerful strategies out there today for creating solutions. Here's where you got a problem. Took a small down payment, that's the way it is. Then you amortized over 30 years. 5%, 550 credit, your senses and all will left you. Chasing the highest price for your property, please don't blame me now. When half the 50 cents on the dollar, 30-year 5%, maybe 60. That's a big discount, right? Tracy Chapman doesn't look like that. Bad note. Bad note.
a decision. My cash will live without. I remember I was working as a nurse, blood and guts and everything worse. And I fell in love with so my oats and I had a feeling that I belonged. I had a feeling I could be the queen.
Sorry, I had to follow Tracy Chapman. She had more verses.
Time value of money that'll cost you most. What'll I get in 30 years? That payment won't buy metal toast. You've got other offers. Yes, I hear those hints you're dropping. Can't pay that price, won't do this deep. Take your bad note and keep on shopping.
That's from my headbanger days. Yeah.
So I bought you bad note. Now it ain't performing hard times like these.
Sitting on the couch doing nothing, big drunk.
Offered them on cash for keys. Now things will get better. They'll start paying, at least they'll try. We'll stay out of foreclosure. All I want is my ROI. I remember I was working as a nurse, blood and guts and everything worse. Then I fell in love with notes. It's time to sow my oats, and I had a feeling that I belonged. I had a feeling I could be the queen, run out queen. So you wanna buy notes? You got a job that pays all your bills. You stay on Wall Street day after day, losing and risking more than you should. You know you should do better. You know you should go self-directed. Pick up a phone, go along with quotes. He'll make sure you're safe and protected.
A friend of mine owns a Quest, a self-directed diary custodian, but there's a lot of them.
You got a bad note. It's bad enough that you just want out. You've got to make a decision. Take my cash or live without. Gotta live without.
Thank you so much for your generosity and your time.